It all started with a secret that found its way to the greatest individuals humankind ever produced. Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller. The list is endless. The secret once reached a unique visionary, Andrew Carnegie, a business magnate and one of the richest people to have ever walked the earth. He unleashed the secret to amass hundreds of millions of dollars at a time when millions of others were just struggling to survive. But Carnegie did not want to keep the secret to himself. He wished to pass it on to everyone seeking great wealth and extraordinary life. This is how the book Think and Grow Rich was conceived and written by Napoleon Hill in 1937. Carnegie passed the baton to Hill and advised him to take the secret to everyone who deserves it. It's not just an ordinary book. It sold over 100 million copies and helped millions of people generate extraordinary wealth. This is how the secret was made available to all. But not all could have it. The secret chooses its master. It is revealed to the ones who are ready for it. So here goes the secret for the ones who don't want to settle for just an average life. But wait. Like all treasures, the secret to great wealth does not come for free. So before the secret is revealed, let's play a game. Here are the rules for that game. The secret lies in a maze. One who is truly ready for it can see it lying just in front, while many others need to take a look around. To make the game even more interesting, the secret is an expert in disguise. It is nameless and formless. The secret has been mentioned over 100 times in the book, so it will be mentioned in the video multiple times. It's uncovered and placed within 13 golden principles or steps. But these rules or steps themselves are not the secrets. The secrets just pop up into your mind when you focus on these 13 principles. Some may just spot the secret within the first principle itself, while others, they might have a eureka moment later on the 13th one. It all depends on how prepared you are for the secret to manifest in your mind. 3 feet from gold. In the gold rush days in the United States, there lived a man who was caught by gold fever. So he ventured into the western part of the country to dig out gold and get rich fast. He went to go work with a pickaxe and shovel, and after days of hard work, he managed to locate a large amount of gold ore. So he borrowed and invested in heavy machinery and hired more workers to get all the gold out and then sell it on the market. The investment quickly paid off as he was able to mine a good amount of gold with small initial efforts. However, the gold vein suddenly disappeared, and despite desperate efforts, they could not locate it again. Disheartened, they decided to quit and sell the equipment to a junk man. But this is where I think it gets interesting. He was not just an ordinary junk man. He consulted a mining engineer who examined the vein that hadn't vanished. There was merely a fault line. A gigantic amount of gold was lying just 3 meters ahead of the exact spot of where the man stopped digging. Winners don't quit, and quitters don't win. Yeah, you heard that right. The secret formula that Henry Ford used to revolutionize the automobile industry, or that made Edison the greatest inventor in history with just 3 months of schooling, lies just 3 feet away. So let's begin. Principle 1. Desire. Edwin Barnes was an ordinary man by all accounts. He had no money, no influence, and little formal education. But his desire to be a business partner of Edison was just not ordinary. It was a definite desire. Moreover, it was specific. He did not want to work for Edison, but work with him as a partner. Having no money to travel, Barnes hopped onto a freight train to meet Edison and propose a business partnership. As he was heading to Edison's office, his mind was at work. He visualized himself standing in Edison's presence and proposing to become a business associate of the great inventor. Barnes succeeded, just not immediately. As he worked harder than anyone else to not just become an employee, but a full-fledged partner. Recounting this incident, Edison later said, "I had learned from years of experience with men that when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, he is sure to win. I gave him that opportunity he asked for because I saw he made it up in his mind to stand there until he succeeded. Barnes' desire was not a hope. It was not a mere wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else. It was definite. Most people in Barnes's position would have killed their initial desire because of some issues that jumped in and attacked their goal. But Barnes had no goal B. He only had the desire to work with Edison. Every person who wants to win and excel in any sphere of life must have a singular burning desire, kill their other options, and follow what they want most. They must burn the ship and cut all sources of retreat. That means no alternate goals and no shifting of the goalposts. Only by doing so can one be sure of attaining the mindset needed to succeed. Hill prescribes a small 6-step exercise to achieve a specific goal like acquiring certain amounts of wealth. Step 1. Think of the exact amount of money you need. Place a definite number and not something generic like a plenty of money. It should read something like, by December 31st, 2025, I want to have $50,000. Step 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There's no such reality as something for nothing. Step 3. Put a definite date by which you want to acquire that amount. Step 4. Build an exact plan to achieve your target. Once you have the plan, immediately start working on it, no matter if you're ready or not. Step 5. Write the details of the last 4 steps on a piece of paper. Describe everything as clearly as possible. Step 6. Read your written statement out twice daily. Once after getting up and once before going to bed. As you read it, visualize yourself in possession of the money and executing your plan. If one truly desires money so keenly that one's desire becomes an obsession, one will find ways to acquire it. Moreover, if one thinks one's desire is right, one should pursue it wholeheartedly. One must have unwavering faith in one person's desire and conviction. Principle 2. Faith. Gandhi wielded more power than anybody else in his phase of history. He had none of the conventional sources of power like money, soldiers, weapons, or ships. Yet he challenged the mighty British, one of the strongest militaries of that era. So what was the real source of Gandhi's inevitable power? It was his understanding of the principle of faith and his ability to transplant that faith into the minds of millions of his fellow countrymen. Faith is a state of mind that one needs to cultivate by believing that what one desires can be achieved. But faith is not something you can develop overnight. It builds one brick at a time through mental exercise, visualization, and a conscious belief. Moreover, it takes patience to build faith over a long period. When someone comes in contact with a crime for the first time, they find it disgusting. However, if this experience repeats and they remain exposed to the crime for a long time, they become habituated to it. With more exposure, they finally tend to get influenced by it and embrace crime. Faith works in the same way. It must start with a single idea. When one starts believing in the power of that idea, as Gandhi did, one can see the first spark of faith. One must give fuel to allow it to grow. Then one's faith engulfs one's entire existence and helps achieve what they truly and definitely desire. It should be remembered that life's battles don't always go to the stronger man or the faster man. But sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. When one starts feeding their subconscious mind with an unshakable belief through autosuggestion, it becomes their true nature. The subconscious mind in return guides them to the right path. This is how the Davids beat the Goliaths of this world. Principle 3. Autosuggestion. Let's revisit Principle 1 just for a moment. Why does the author want people to read the 6 steps aloud twice every day? It's to plant positive affirmations in the subconscious mind through repetition. This is what autosuggestion is all about. It's how somebody voluntarily feeds their subconscious mind with positive and powerful thoughts, beliefs, and convictions to achieve their goals automatically. Through repetitive autosuggestion, one can create positive thought habits to transform one's strongest desire into physical forms, such as wealth. When one repeats in their mind and visualizes their strongest desire, their belief that is achievable, and their defined plan of action, the subconscious mind gets trained accordingly. Fed with positivity and a can-do attitude, the subconscious mind guides one to the right path to achieve these goals effortlessly. However, while practicing autosuggestion, one needs to ensure that they filter out negativities so that they truly believe in their goal. No half measures and no half-hearted efforts. This is the very crux of the book, Think and Grow Rich. The idea is to have a definitive desire, a clear faith, a strong belief, and a clearly laid out plan. This is why big life goals like a great amount of wealth cannot be achieved with generic ideas or knowledge. One needs to acquire specified knowledge to achieve specific goals. Principle 4. Specialized knowledge. During the First World War, a Chicago newspaper labeled Henry Ford as an ignorant pacifist due to his anti-war stance. In response, Ford filed a lawsuit against the newspaper. When the case was being tried in court, the attorneys asked Ford a variety of general knowledge questions to prove their point that Ford was not an educated man. The great industrialist was piled with questions like who was Benedict Arnold and how many soldiers did the British send over to America to put down the rebellion of 1776. In answer to that last question, Mr. Ford replied, "I do not know the exact number of soldiers the British sent over, but I have heard that it was a considerably larger number than ever went back." Finally, when Ford was tired of this line of offensive questioning, he leaned over and pointed his finger at the attorney and replied, "Let me remind you that I have a row of electric buttons on my desk, and by pushing the right button, I can summon men who can answer any question I desire to ask concerning the business to which I am devoting most of my efforts. Now, will you kindly tell me, why should I clutter up my mind with general knowledge for the purpose of being able to answer questions when I have men around me who can supply any knowledge I require?" Ford loathed generic knowledge. He had a hunger for specialized knowledge relevant to his work and life. A lot of people keep acquiring generic knowledge thinking that knowledge is power. The traditional schooling system reiterates the same idea that generic knowledge is power. The problem is that knowledge is not power on its own. It is a potential power. The real power comes from acquiring specific knowledge of the problem one is trying to solve and apply it to that knowledge to solve it. For instance, knowing the history of the world may not help an entrepreneur trying to build an electric vehicle or trading in the stock market. To succeed these endeavors, one needs specialized knowledge of how these activities work. General knowledge, no matter what variety or quantity, hardly helps one acquire a great amount of wealth. The traditional schooling system is based on hoarding more and more generic knowledge. This explains why millions struggle to achieve financial freedom. Specific knowledge, coupled with imagination, helps one achieve the strongest desire, while specific knowledge helps in solving real-world problems. Imagination is the source of creativity. Principle 5. Imagination. More than a century ago, a country doctor secretly met with a young drugstore clerk to sell him an old kettle, a wooden paddle, and a secret formula for just $500. It was the clerk's entire savings. The doctor needed the money to pay off debts and was happy to sell it. He could not imagine the enormous wealth the formula would generate. The clerk, taking a huge risk, mixed his own imagination with the secret formula to create something unimaginable. This is the beginning of a company worth $300 billion today, serving in more than 200 countries and territories. This is the story of Coca-Cola. Time and again, it has been said that one can create whatever one can imagine. It is the creative imagination that connects a person's finite mind with infinite intelligence. Creative imagination is the source of inspiration and hunches that lead to great products, world-class computers, and enormous wealth. The brightest minds in history, the most renowned artists, and the most visionary writers throughout history all possess extraordinary creative imaginations. Imagination empowers one to take a leap of faith and visualize possibilities beyond their ordinary circumstances. But can imagination alone lead to success? Of course not. What links creative imagination with great outcomes is organized planning. Principle 6, organized planning. A recurring theme in Think and Grow Rich is that everything a person creates always begins with a strong desire. However, human desires are often in abstract form. People desire success, wealth, good health, and fulfillment without thinking of the specifics of what they want and how they can achieve it. They might have immense faith in their idea. However, no idea can be put into action without organized planning. Henry Ford built a lasting legacy and a fortune, not just because he had a strong desire or vivid imagination, but because he had a sound plan. There were thousands of more educated and privileged people than Ford at this time. However, unlike Ford, they did not have organized plans. An organized plan is definite. It is specific and detailed. An organized plan is a blueprint to acquire the right resources, manpower, and other supporting factors that complement a person's own imagination and efforts. It should be noted that no person can achieve all they wish for on their own. They need to coordinate with others to build teamwork and achieve larger outcomes. The modern economy shows how different forces and factors coordinate so seamlessly to create wealth. If one looks at the food one eats or the clothes one wears, these are the results of a sophisticated production process involving resources and manpower from faraway lands and coordinated through invisible market forces. Just as organized capital is the lifeblood of today's economy, organized planning is essential for creating wealth. However, while planning is still a mental exercise, what stops great planners from achieving what they want? Principle 7, decision. Henry Ford wanted to make his automobiles more affordable for the common man, but this was not an easy task to achieve, especially at a time when mass production of automobiles was a completely new thing. Ford achieved what he wanted through several bold decisions, one of which was the design of the company's V8 engine. He chose to build an engine with the entire 8 cylinders cast into one block and asked his engineers to produce a design for the engine. The design was placed on paper and the engineers were of a single opinion. It was impossible to cast the engine's block as a single piece. Ford insisted and said, "Produce it anyway." The engineers kept saying it could not be done, and Ford replied, "Go ahead, stay on the job until you succeed, no matter how much time is required." Months went on, and there was no result. However, one day in 1932, the famous V8 engine was produced exactly the way Ford had visualized, 8 cylinders cast in just one block. To get great results, one needs to make bold decisions. The opposite of making decisions is indecision or procrastination. This is where many great plans fail. They go into decision paralysis, a situation where one takes too much time to make decisions or just cannot make them at all. A habit of indecision is planted within most people in their early years of life. They find it hard to shake off and achieve greatness. Napoleon Hill studied 25,000 people and found that a lack of decision is one of the leading causes of failures. Successful people such as Henry Ford make their decisions quickly and definitely. However, once they decide, they don't change their decisions easily at the sight of issues. Moreover, making quick decisions takes a good dose of courage. Socrates' decision to drink the cup of poison, rather than compromise his personal beliefs, was an act of extreme courage. In issuing his famous Proclamation of Emancipation, Lincoln risked thousands of friends and political supporters turned against him. When 56 individuals gathered in Philadelphia on July 4th, 1776, to sign their names to a document, they risked being hanged from a gallows. Great achievers make bold decisions and they stick to their decisions persistently. Principle 8, persistence. The names of great personalities like Henry Ford and Andrew Carnegie keep repeating throughout the book Think and Grow Rich. While many idolize them, others think these legends were ruthless and cold-blooded in their pursuit of their business goals. This misconception grew because these extraordinary achievers followed through with their plans. Come rain or shine, it all had persistence. Most people would simply change their goal after failing a couple of times. Edison failed thousands of times before perfecting the incandescent electric light bulb. For a person with average ambition, such a level of persistence may look cold-blooded. However, no great thing was ever achieved without sticking to one's convictions and following one's plans to the very end. One must remember the story of 3 feet from gold. The majority of people are ready to throw up their arms and purposes overboard and give up at the first problem that they encounter. A few carry on despite all opposition until they attain their goal. These are the few Fords, Carnegies, Rockefellers, and Edisons of the world. So what's the secret behind their tireless persistence? Hill mentioned 4 key factors. 1. A definite purpose backed by a burning desire to fill it. A definite plan followed by immediate and continuous action. An unwavering mind that is not influenced by criticisms or discouragement. A supportive partnership with people who motivate and help one stick to a goal. One thing to note is that in all of these principles, an intense desire is a common factor. Hill emphasizes countless times that the starting point of all achievement is a burning desire. Moreover, having a team of supportive people helps one remain persistent, especially when someone is trying to build a new business. When many minds work together, it creates a mastermind and leads to extraordinary results through the magic of synergy. Principle 9. Power of the mastermind. At the age of 13, Andrew Carnegie worked from dawn to dusk as a bobbin boy in a cotton mill, making only $1.20 a week. However, he made a huge fortune in his lifetime by expanding the American steel industry in the 19th century. At his peak, he was worth more than $310 billion in today's money, which makes him the 4th richest human of all time. So, what was the secret behind Carnegie's phenomenal success? It was a concept called the mastermind. Hill defines the mastermind as a coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between 2 or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. It is a cooperative alliance in which one utilizes the creative genius of team members to achieve a big goal. Carnegie attributes his entire fortune to the power he accumulated with his mastermind. Carnegie's mastermind group included approximately 50 people. He surrounded himself with them and consulted them with a definite goal of manufacturing and marketing steel. The mastermind is also a source of power for great achievers. Hill says power is essential for success and accumulation of money. Plans are inert and useless without sufficient power to translate them into action. Power is required for the accumulation of money. Power is necessary for the retention of money after it has been accumulated. Historically, great fortunes have been built by people who utilize the advice, counsel, and personal cooperation of a devoted team. But not all power comes from outside. Every person can drive immense power by mastering their own body and channeling their sexual energy for a greater purpose. Principle 10. The Mystery of Sex Transmutation. Henry Ford did not hit his pace of achievement until he passed the age of 40. Andrew Carnegie was well past 40 before he began to reap the rewards of his efforts. James J. Hill was still running a telegraph key at the age of 40. While analyzing over 25,000 successful people, Hill found that most of them achieved success after the age of 40. So what is missing with this puzzle? It is the mystery of sex transmutation. Sex desire is one of the most powerful of human desires. When driven by sexual energy, people develop immense imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creativity, which remains hidden from them at all other times. Hill says, so strong and impelling is the desire for sexual contact that men freely run the risk of life and reputation to indulge it. When harnessed, and redirected along other lines, this motivating force maintains all of its attributes of keenness, of imagination, courage, which may be used as a powerful creative force in literature, art, or in any other profession or calling, including the accumulation of riches. Younger people tend to dissipate their sexual energy through mere physical expression. As people grow old, they become better at channeling this energy to other creative pursuits. Think and Grow Rich explains how sexual energy has been a great source of power for extraordinary achievers from Carnegie to Edison. Many people try to suppress their sexual desire to focus on their work. However, this strategy is bound to fail. One can dam a river to control the force of water for some time, but eventually the force accumulates and finds an outlet to break free. The same is true of the emotion of sex. It may be suppressed and controlled for a time, but because of its very nature, sexual energy seeks a physical expression. Great power comes from transmuting this energy through a creative outlet. The book mentions great names like George Washington, Napoleon Bonaparte, William Shakespeare, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, all of which had a highly sexed nature. They moved mountains through the transmutation of sexual energy. Principle 11, the subconscious mind. More than a century ago, American poet Ella Wheeler Wilcox wrote, "You can never tell what a thought will do, and bringing you hate or love, for thoughts or things, and their airy wings, are swifter than carrier doves." Miss Wilcox understood a simple truth. What one thinks gets greatly embedded into their subconscious mind. These embedded thoughts in their subconscious mind get translated into their physical equivalent. So when one is worried about 100 ways one can fail, these 100 ways are likely to manifest themselves into physical forms as real causes of failure. On the other hand, being success conscious leads to success in physical forms. A mindset of abundance manifests itself with real wealth. This is the magic power of the subconscious mind. But there's a catch. The subconscious mind is powerful and elusive at the same time. One cannot directly control the subconscious mind, but one can voluntarily hand over to it any plan, desire, or purpose that one wants to get transformed into a physical form. This is where faith comes in. One needs to faithfully turn one's deepest desires and plans over to the subconscious mind to harness its creative power. Hill believes that there is plenty of evidence to support the belief that the subconscious mind is the connecting link between one's finite mind and infinite intelligence. It is the tool that helps one draw up the forces of infinite intelligence at will. Besides the subconscious mind, people also have another magic tool at their disposal to receive the infinite intelligence. Principle 12, the brain. Dr. Alexander Graham Bell and Dr. Elmer R. Gates are big names in scientific history. When Hill was allegedly working with them, they came across an astounding revelation. Every human brain works as a broadcasting and receiving station to send signals and receive them as well. In the words of Hill, through the medium of the ether, in a fashion similar to that employed by radio broadcasting principle, every human being is capable of picking up vibrations of which they were being released by other brains. When one brain is stimulated, it becomes more receptive to the thoughts and intelligence from outside sources. As explained by Hill, a stimulated brain is potentially capable of telepathy, the magic power that remains out of reach for most common people. The brain is also capable of extrasensory modes of perception. This means that when one can stimulate the brain enough, one can receive and combine the intelligence of others from unknown sources to find and create solutions to even the toughest of real life's problems. One simple way to stimulate one's mind to that level is to sit at a table with one's team, lay down a problem, and brainstorm to solve the problems from very different angles. As everybody clearly expresses their thoughts, these insights combine to make each one experience higher order intelligence from sources outside their own perception. A stimulated brain opens doors to infinite intelligence by activating one's sixth sense. Principle 13, the sixth sense. Highly successful people are also extremely intuitive. They receive flashes, also called inspiration or hunches, which help them see things with absolute clarity. Their source of intuitive intelligence is unknown to them, but they have full faith in the capability of receiving higher order intelligence from a highly developed sixth sense. Sixth sense is a magical power that remains elusive to a large majority of human beings. It is the capacity through which an individual gets voluntary access to infinite intelligence. It is the tool to which the human mind gets connected to the universal mind, the large reservoir of intelligence and creativity. It warns one of impending dangers or notifies incredible opportunities ahead. It opens the doors to the temple of wisdom. Being the most powerful of all principles, the sixth sense is also the most elusive one. Only those who have obtained the state do it through intense desire, persistence, faith, and sex transmutation. The power of the mastermind can start to have a glimpse of the sixth sense. This is why it doesn't develop until one has mastered the other 12 principles outlined so far. These principles work in unison to lift a person to a higher pedestal from the rest of humanity and empower one to achieve what seems unimaginable to millions. The sixth sense is the apex of the Think and Grow Rich philosophy. The 13 principles described in Think and Grow Rich should not be looked at separately. They are all just separate ingredients of the secret potion, but none of them can help one achieve their full potential on their own. However, when blended, the secret is conjured out of thin air for the ones who want to see it and can see opportunities laying ahead. They can surmount all 6 basic forms of fear: fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of losing love, fear of old age, and fear of death. All great achievements start with a burning desire, solidified through faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, and organized planning. They take off through bold decisions and survive through persistence, while the power of the mastermind, sex transmutation, and the subconscious mind open doors for higher potential. Finally, the sixth sense access through a stimulated brain opens the doors to infinite possibilities. This is how one can think and grow rich.